I'd like to call the July 14th Board of Education Workshop regular meeting open. If we could have a moment of silence. Flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, a public notice of this meeting has been sent to board members, all district schools, the Herald News, the Suburban Trends, the Record, the Messenger, West Milford Town Hall, County Superintendent's Office, the Board Attorney, Cablevision of Warwick and West Milford TV 77, and posted at the Administration Building. Copies of the board meeting calendar resolution were provided to all local media, Town Hall, Township Library, and all district schools. Roll call, please, Mrs. Patagno.
Thank you. Mr. Sitovich, Mrs. Dwyer, Mr. Garino,
Here.
Mrs. Jurgensen, Mr. Lippy,
Here.
Mrs. Marquardt,
Here.
Mrs. Ricano, Mrs. Van Dyke,
Here.
and Mrs. Lockwood.
Here. Dr. Kitchen, District Administration Report.
Yes, so last week in committee, obviously we had a significant discussion regarding our athletic programs, our pay-to-play, and kind of rewind a little bit further as we went through budget season with a tough, budgetary situation. We cut a significant amount of money out of the athletic department. The dollar amount was equivalent to the stipends associated with freshman coaches. And at that time we said, look, it doesn't necessarily mean freshman opportunities will be lost, but we need to figure out how to recover those dollars. Since that time, we've had a couple of meetings with our athletic director, Mr. Schutte. Mrs. Bertagno and I have sat down, kind of gone through and said, this is the dollar amount, doesn't necessarily need to be from those places. Obviously, we've had some board level conversations about what we think is most appropriate. And for us, it's we want to make sure that our athletic programs are in a healthy place. So we need to make sure that they're financially stable. We need to make sure they're in a healthy place. And I think part of that is evaluating those programs. So a couple of things have happened from last week's meeting until now. One, Mrs. Bertagno and I, and actually Dr. Swartz came to join us as well, went to sit down with Mr. Kane and Mr. Schutte. And big thanks to Mr. Kane for stepping in on day one of the job at the high school and getting heavily involved in these conversations right away. Mr. Kane and Mr. Schutte had gone through the athletic budget and tried to look for areas based on the data of participants and historical spending in those areas and try to find certain areas where they could reasonably make cuts. We had obviously a conversation about what we could do with the pay-to-play to see if there was a way to more appropriately and more equitably generate revenue from the pay-to-play. And a lot of that was tied to the cost of the sport. So as we look at the data, we see that there is a significant difference from one sport to the next for our cost per participant to the district. And I think there was a discussion last week where we talked about a percentage-based pay-to-play. We discussed how that was something that is maybe difficult to track on a dollar-for-dollar scale, but finding a way to tier it so that we look at the sports that are more expensive, less expensive. So in a confidential update, which you have all seen at this point, we put out information about those tiers and which sports belong in different tiers. We try to set it up so there's 3 different tiers, and the majority of the sports fall into tier 2. The sports that are significantly less expensive than others fall into a tier 1 category, and then the handful of sports where the cost per participant is exceedingly high, those went into a tier 3. And we were trying to settle on where we should land for what that pay-to-play fee should be. obviously, we're trying to make sure that these are opportunities that are open to all of our students. We don't want to turn kids away from participation as a result of the cost of the pay-to-play fee. So what is on the agenda for this evening is an increase from the original number that we had tabled last month. The pay-to-play fee for Tier 1 sport would be $100 per athlete. Tier 2 is $150, Tier 3 is $200, with an individual cap of $400 and a family cap of $600. If we look at last year's numbers and we apply it to the participation in each of the sports based on the tiers that we're presenting, it would be a significant increase in revenue. The pay-to-play would bring in roughly $175,000, a little bit less, but somewhere in that range. That's before we factor in people with, that's before we factor in caps for families or individuals, and that's before we factor in people who free and reduced lunch who are exempt from paying the fees. But just to give you a basic idea, that is considerably more than what we generate with the current structure. The current structure is somewhere a little shy of $100,000 is being brought in currently. So that makes up the cost of those differences. But we didn't want it to be in the absence of also trying to look for places to be more efficient with our spending. So after going through, we found some areas that were potential cuts, but it's hard to know until you have registrations and you see what your participation numbers are. So rather than just looking at the straight dollar amount that we had from those stipends, we looked at a lesser dollar amount. So the athletic program and the high school are committing to finding about $40,000 worth of cuts from the athletic program collectively. Those will be discretionary over the course of the year of where those dollars get pulled from. There's a couple of reduced stipends in the fall, but what that would do is it would preserve our freshman sports, although this isn't about freshman sports specifically. This is broader than that. This is more about just preserving the equity in how we collect funds for the sports that we play and the long-term health of our program. So I think that obviously it took us a little while to get to this place in the conversation because we knew we had dollars we needed to come up with, but we wanted to do it appropriately. So with that being said, that's what's on the agenda for you to vote on this evening. Obviously it'll show up in action items, but I wanted to take this opportunity to just circle back to it for our board members, for our community members who may or may not be here to talk about some of those things. But it is a way for us to help take on some of those costs in a more equitable way. So we'll see how things go with the vote this evening. But the other thing I wanted to mention was we also sat down and had a conversation about a more detailed breakdown of athletic costs. So the spreadsheet that we were using last week is something that is created retroactively looking back, which is really challenging as you're looking at POs to go, especially when POs were still on triplicate forms. You got to go back and dig through all of them. But a couple things. One, as of like a week ago, we're now on digital POs, which is really helpful in going back and sort of searching some of these things. But also, we had a conversation with our athletic secretary to say that as the year goes on, we want a really detailed breakdown of all of the spending, and then at the end of every sports season this year, we're going to have a board presentation from our athletic director to go through the dollar for dollar spending for each sport, so that as we reevaluate at the end of the year, reevaluate our tiers, reevaluate our cost of our pay to play, that will be tremendously helpful because it'll provide us with the information to be really accurate. But I think we got a pretty good understanding, maybe not down to the dollar, but we got a pretty good understanding of the overall cost of our programs, and this hopefully is a place that lands us in a better spot for the future of the programs themselves. Any questions on any of that? No? We'll talk more when we get to that agenda item. And then the other thing we have on for this evening is an update on the 9-period day at the high school. We had a couple meetings today to kind of go through some of that, but I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Novak to kind of lead the discussion on that as it's right in his wheelhouse.
Thank you. At our committees last week, we described the process for creating and developing the schedule. We met with our team today. We met with our entire administrative council and then had some individual meetings with our high school people about the schedule. So our current status on the schedule is on pace, we believe. We are currently in the pre-scheduling mode where they are hand scheduling specific programs for students who need to get certain courses before the automatic scheduling process takes place. That would be for Highlander Pathways, students who need to get certain electives in order to fulfill those pathway requirements. We have a new program next year for at the County College of Morris called AIM Tech, which is the Advanced Integrated Manufacturing Program, where students are going to spend part of their day at the County College of Morris and part of their day here in West Milford, so they have certain requirements that they have to meet. That's the hand scheduling process that we have to fulfill before we turn on the automatic scheduler. So we are on pace for the automatic scheduling process to be completed by the end of this week, and we anticipate that when our counselors come in next week, they're able to review student schedules and work out any discrepancies or challenges that we see from the automatic scheduling process. So we are in a good place and are anticipating we didn't announce a specific date yet. We typically look for sometime between August 15th and August 20th to release schedules to the community where you'll get access to your student schedule in the high school. Elementary elementary parents will find out who their homeroom teachers are, bus passes, all those types of things. And a reminder of the required tasks that we put on display on our portal before you can move forward to that scheduling process or seeing schedules. Things like free and reduced lunch applications, which I wasn't planning on an announcement during this type of work, but we did a great job last year. We have all 4 elementary schools and our middle school have qualified for Title I targeted assistance funding for next year, which is a big, is a big change from what we've had in the last couple of years, where some of our schools had lost their qualifications. I'm allowed to carry a school for 1 year in a grandfathering process. A number of our schools had just finished that and were a year without having access to title funds. Next year, all 4 elementaries and our middle school will qualify. So that doesn't bring us additional funding. It just gives us access to all the schools, so I don't have to choose which schools to fund the Family Literacy Night program, for example. So it gives us some flexibility that's really helpful. Back to scheduling, we're on pace for our counselors to be able to work with our schedules next week and work out any of those little hiccups that come up in the automatic scheduler. Just confirming with Dr. Schwartz, had a long conversation. Special education process is in place, so we feel good about where we're at.
I would imagine by within the next week or so, we should have more information to the board and a confidential update, and then obviously by our next meeting, we're going to have a really clear picture of exactly where we are, because we'll be very close to the release date for individual students. So, and again, just kind of going back to the pre-scheduling process, those are just specific to the ones that have a more restrictive requirements. So, some of your Highlander students or people who are in partial day out of district programs, and so their schedule has requirements that most schedules do not. Many of our special ed students, plenty of our special ed students don't have a lot of restrictions in their schedule, but there are some that do, based on being in self-contained programs. So going through this process
is partial out-of-district placements.
Yep. So going through this process in advance makes it so that the work on the back end, once you run the scheduler, is significantly reduced, because you're not trying to fix all of those problems, because those are usually the ones that they don't work. The conflicts are going to come up, so you start with those, you build out from there, and when you run the scheduler, hopefully there's very few conflicts that are an issue, but the ones that exist, we'll be ready to address them with the counselors next week.
Since you're talking about the schedule right now, I just had a question. When we had committee, we were talking about the breakdown of class sizes. So do you think once we do, once you get done, we'll get that for our committee?
Yes, August 11th, right? Is that our committee?
Okay,
Or no, August 7th. Is it August
so
7th?
we'll know the class
Yeah,
size
so
in the high
you'll have
school
that,
and then.
yeah, you'll have that availability of all that information.
And will that trickle down to the elementaries? Will we have a good picture on the elementaries by then too?
Well, we already have a good picture.
Oh, we do? Okay.
We shared that out.
That shouldn't change a whole
Yeah.
lot.
I went out in a confidential update about a month or so ago.
Yeah, but that was June, that was like not,
Yeah, I think from this
that
point, the only,
didn't, that's not our start number, right? I mean.
No,
So
but it's
that'll
pretty-
be the move-ins and move-outs. We're
Yeah,
going
so
to adjust that.
when do you think we'd have that?
That can change up to the first,
Yeah.
Yeah.
second week of school with people moving in and moving out. So
Okay.
your numbers that you saw late May are pretty solid because 2 kids move out, 2 kids move in, so they're fairly
Okay, yeah,
solid.
I think what we had at the end had it broken down by the 5 elementaries, but not the 4, right?
No,
It wasn't on the 4? Okay, I have to go back and look at it,
At
thank
the committee
you.
meeting, you will have that.
Yeah, I think
Those,
that's a good picture so that we see where we
Yeah,
are.
I feel like we're typically done with the scheduling process in early August across the board. And the reason we wait for like the early 20s is to make sure that all of our transportation is in order. I don't want to say the transportation is what holds us up, it's not, but we want to make sure that all of that is correct and that everything's accurate when we put it out. So-
transportation can be heavily impacted by even a single change to student registration. So that's why they choose to delay, because you could add 1 kid or remove 1 kid and change an entire bus route. So they try to make sure that we're pretty solid with where we're at. But back to your question, so you're absolutely right. Things could change from then to now, but because it is, it's not like a high school where you're choosing different classes. Like you're in a grade level and that's you're with that class all day. The numbers are much easier to run and know what those sections are going to be. It's just going to be minor differences in totals, again, based on.
I think that would be great then, that sounds good to me.
We for sure will have.
I would like to just see the breakdown by the 4 elementaries now, as opposed to
give-
have 5, that would be great.
So-
Before the meet.
So that's what was shared when it went out in the
But I
confidential
mean,
update, and we'll give the updated numbers when we go over the high school stuff. We'll give the updated numbers for every school.
That's perfect, thank you.
So with the elementary, we're sticking to our, I think it was a commitment to stay 21 to 24. What happens if we get move-ins and now it goes to 26?
So we aren't there with any of them. The average is still 21 per class. I think the highest we see anywhere, we have, so our target range is 20 to 25 in policy. Our max is 28. But the highest we have right now at this moment in time is still 24. And there's very, very few of those. Most of them are very close to that mean. Just because I think that's one of the few silver linings to a consolidation in a redistricting is that it gives us the opportunity to sort of more equitably space our students out, and you're not going to have incredibly small class sizes. You shouldn't have any that are too large either. So I mean, this past year, we had some classes that were very small in certain pockets, right? Others were big, but now they're all going to be much closer to the average. I don't off the top of my head remember what the lowest number is, but I want to say it's like 17 or 18 is the lowest, and then the highest, like I said, the highest is 24, but there's only a couple of those, and I think most of them are right around that 21 number. But we'll give the updates as soon when that number is ongoing, so it exists right now. It'll just change as enrollments change. So if we'll give the most up-to-date numbers when we go over everything in August.
Right. So if somebody had, like you said, the max there might be one class with 24. If they can go up to 28 though, based on the policy. But if they get, again, I think we all hope for lots of move-ins and new students coming in. If we do get that, what happens? Do you put
So keep in
a
mind,
classroom?
keep in
if there's
mind,
more
we have
kids?
nowhere where you've got like a single class in a grade. It's all like 2s and 3s. So if I've got 24 kids, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't.
23, right?
Yeah.
I'm just
24.
Yeah, I was just saying. Like,
So if you have spots in both classes before you get there. So it would take
Right.
several move-ins for that number to go higher.
If.
If
You could have
moved
move-outs,
in
too.
and nobody moved out.
Right.
That could be an issue. So, look, I mean, if the numbers go up a little bit, then we're gonna have to navigate that, and we can have conversations about it. We can figure out, we probably don't have the opportunity at that point to add a section, but we could maybe add an aid into
That's
it, or a shared aid between the classes. So it really depends on what the circumstance is. But I know that in a couple of the sections that are a little bit larger, like they've got a third class already. So you have, 5 or 6
That's where you might have
seats
18 or, yeah.
that you can fill before you exceed that number. And again, it's not even the max. We're talking about the high end of the target range. So we're in pretty good shape on the numbers. We're just going to see fewer classes. We had some in the past year or two where you had classes that were down around 12, 13, 14. We don't have those anymore. But the high end really didn't change. The high end kind of has stayed relatively stable, and that was a big part of that was our communication, primarily with transportation, because they've got the software to help us with it and figure out student locations, and making sure we were setting up the redistricting as equitably as possible, so that we are evenly spaced across the schools. Obviously, it also it's going to naturally result in some neighborhoods end up going a little bit farther to get to their school, but we don't have a perfectly even distribution of schools and people across the district. So we feel pretty good about where we landed, considering the circumstances.
And the flip side of that, the high school, I know we've talked about this, where we've had some very small classes in the high school.
Yeah.
What have we done to just kind of...
We've cut several staff members at the secondary level, so that right there is going to increase the average class size. Some of the classes that were small previously maybe aren't running this year, just because they're classes that don't need to run. That being said, the nature of a high school schedule, your deviation from the mean is going to be larger because of just the way kids are choosing the classes that they're going into. They've got certain requirements. So, we're looking at average class sizes that, being appropriate, but you may still see a couple classes that are larger than ideal. You may see a couple that are smaller than ideal. What we try to look at as those things are created, and this is what we kind of sat down with our high school team as well as our scheduling consultants, and as we're evaluating this, we don't want to close out a class for the sake of closing out a class, but we want to make sure that we're appropriately staffed. So, like if you got several ELA sections that are really small, and you could consolidate those ELA sections and you could eliminate a staff member, well then that obviously saves budgetarily, and you're still at appropriate class sizes. But if you have, one class that's relatively small, but eliminating that particular section just distributes those kids into larger classes elsewhere, but it doesn't have any impact on staffing needs because you're just picking up one period, then that's not a situation where we would close that class, because there's no need to close that class. You're not gaining anything from it other than making classes larger just for the sake of making them larger. So we're just...
So what would be an example of that?
So if I have...
AP Chemistry.
I was thinking like calculus.
AP Chemistry, AP Stats, those are classes that many kids need in their schedules that AP Chem hasn't run in a couple of years, so students who want to get that course before they graduate to high school or have been asking for it and are...
That would just be one class, though.
That was just one course.
No, I'm asking, so where's a situation that...
Yeah, so let's say you've got... Let's just say you've got an ELA class that is 15. Smaller than ideal, and you have the rest of the, let's just say it's a freshman English class, and the rest of the freshman English classes are larger. They're 20, 21. If you eliminate that one class of 15, you're redistributing those 15 kids into those classes of 2021, and now they're all going up by a few kids. So now all of them are going to be 23, 24. But you haven't accomplished anything other than just open up a period in that teacher's schedule, because you don't, one period doesn't make up a teacher. So now all of a sudden you had however many full-time teachers you have, you just have one that has an incomplete schedule. It doesn't help you in staffing in that way. And then we got to figure out, you know, what we're doing for duties and things like that. So you wouldn't necessarily close that. Now let's say you've got 3 classes that are 15 or 16. Now all of a sudden you look, we can redistribute those kids into other classes. We can appropriately fit them there, and now we're talking about having a reduced need for staff in that particular department. Then that's obviously something that we want to be fiscally responsible in how we're allocating our resources.
Yeah, so I wanted you to explain that, because the point of all this is it's a massive puzzle to put together. And I don't think that people understand that enough.
Well, and certainly with the shift to a 9-period day, and all of that, like a lot of stuff happening all at once. This first year, we're going to look at this for the very first time. So that's going to have an impact on our future scheduling. So we wanted to make sure that we were being equitable with our staffing cuts, because unfortunately we needed to make some. So we lost teachers at the high school level, at the middle school level, at the elementary level. We lost several administrative positions district-wide, but particularly at the secondary level. So we've been as equitable as possible with the cuts that we have made. But obviously, as we go through a year with a new structure, particularly at the secondary level, where you have a totally new structure, but even elementary with the redistricting, we need to evaluate what those needs look like long term, and obviously we're going to have a whole bunch of conversations about that in an ops and finance conversation as well as a personnel conversation.
I think that's helpful.
Thanks.
All finished, Dr. Kitchen?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So now we can move on to special reports and correspondence. Mrs. Patagno?
Thank you. I have the June 16th, 2026 workshop regular meeting minutes and the June 16th, 2026 executive session minutes.
Can I get a motion?
I move June 16th workshop regular meeting minutes and executive session meeting minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Board President's report. So the only thing that I wanted to mention, I just wanted to publicly thank, I know we mentioned this the other night at the committee meeting, but just wanted to thank on behalf of the board, Assemblywoman Mrs. Marissa Sweeney, for everything she did in advocating for us and providing the ability to be able to apply for the grant. You know, I know it's not a huge amount. It's a one-time thing. The money's already been spoken for, because obviously what was Mrs. Patagno had to submit what she needed the funds for, but the great thing is it's going to the security of our schools. So we're going to be able to, hopefully, if we do get the check, and thank you to you too, Dr. Kitchen, because I know you had a big part in that, to be able to make our buildings more secure. And so thank you, Assemblywoman Ms. Sweeney. It's very much appreciated, and hopefully we can continue the trend and start getting more.
Yeah, and I want to echo a big thank you to Mrs. Sweeney, but Assemblywoman Sweeney, but Mrs. Patagno, I should have also mentioned that, because obviously as our VA, she did a tremendous job of securing those funds. It's not just money that was arbitrarily assigned to us, it's money that we actively sought out. We sat down with Assemblywoman Sweeney and her Chief of Staff. We had an active discussion about what our needs were, and when she talked about different things, she said it's very difficult for her to find long-term money, but she might be able to find short-term money if we've got things that fall into certain categories. And then Mrs. Patagno worked her butt off to try to find everything she possibly could to throw at them to say, what about this and this and this and this and this? So she submitted all this stuff that we would be paying for anyway, but she was able to secure money that's not coming locally. So again, big thank you to Assemblywoman Sweeney, but a lot of credit goes to Mrs. Patagno for that one.
And you got everything you put in for, Mrs. Paterno,
I
so.
got everything got put in for it, and as soon as that money is in the account, I'll be even happier.
Okay, public comment. Is there anyone that is signed up to speak? Mrs. Paterno?
No, I don't have anyone.
Is there anyone wishing to speak on agenda items? Okay, you could come forward. All speakers will have 5 minutes to speak until a period of 30 minutes transpires. Before speaking, please state your name, group affiliation, and address for the record. Members of the public who have requested to speak prior to the meeting will be recognized by the chair first. After speaking, all speakers are asked to sign the register provided, give their full name, group affiliation, and their address. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually. All speakers are expected to have read the statement within the agenda regarding the regulations concerning public comments. Members of the public are reminded that they are legally responsible and liable for their comments. You may go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Reagan Asenzo, and I live at 58 High Crest Drive. I have 2 students that will be in APSHUA this year. My son's going into 3rd grade, and my daughter will be entering kindergarten. I'm here tonight to ask for some transparency, which you also have already started to talk about, and I appreciate that. I'm very concerned about the class sizes for the upcoming kindergarten, specifically at APSHUA. I understand there have been many changes, and the district is doing all that it can do to appropriately accommodate all students. When my son went into 1st grade, the school realized that class sizes in the mid-20s would be very challenging, so they opened a 3rd classroom for his class. That being said, the upcoming kindergarten has already been identified as having at least 22 students. That's what they had told us at orientation. And there's always like additions coming in and going out, like you had already addressed. As an educator myself, I understand the importance of small group instruction and a smaller teacher-to-student ratio. This applies even more in the primary grades as students are learning routines and navigating their way through their first time in real classroom setting. In the event that class sizes reach the mid to high 20s, it'll be very challenging for the students to appropriately acclimate to their new school environment. I just wanted to see if there was a possibility of 4 classrooms for the APSHUA kindergarten. If it's been considered, by opening up a 4th classroom, you could ensure that the class sizes remain at the district presented average of 21 students per class. I had tried emailing, but I just haven't heard back in a week, so I just wanted to come and voice my concern. I just want to thank you for your time, and I look forward to just a continued open line of communication. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Move to close public comments?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Could I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
Move to adopt the agenda as presented.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Education, Mr. Lippe, you want to do education for me? Yeah, sorry, I should have warned you, Mrs. Dwyer's not here.
I'd like to move for roll call on education 11.2 through 11.6 and including 12.1, 12.2, 12.3.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lippe. Sorry to put you on the spot. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call please, Mrs. Patagno.
Thank you. Mr. Satovich?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Mrs. Jurgensen?
Yes.
Mr. Lippy?
Yes.
Mrs. Marquardt?
Yes, with recommended abstention.
Thank you. Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes, with recommended abstention.
Thank you. And Mrs. Lockwood?
Yes. All right, personnel. Mrs. Jurgensen, would you like to move personnel?
Sure. Can I please move items 13.1 through 13.19? Is that it? Or no, 14.3? Do I go all the way down?
Yeah, hand
14.
carry for
Okay, and 14.3.
14.2.
And what?
14.2.
Oh, sorry. 14.2.
No, that's okay. I'm putting you on the spot
Yeah,
too, so
no, it's
sorry.
okay. I'm sorry, I was late.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Lippy?
You were talking about the athletic department changing and perhaps cutting the people that are in here for the coaches and coaches for the classes and stuff like that. These are the ones that are post-review of what we're going on, or are these still?
Yes, I think for the fall, we are down one football coach. Is that it for the fall? Some of them, I think that's it for the fall. There's a couple other. Yes, yeah, that's also, yeah. And esports is able to run all 3 seasons, but as of right now, it will not be running in the fall. It may just run a single season in the wintertime. That's the tentative plan is so you lose 2 for the year based on the enrollment. But again, that's where some of the discretionary conversations come in. In the fall, we've got quite a bit of participation in most of those sports. So one football coach, I think, is the fall cut to help get towards that number.
Any other discussion? Okay. Seeing none, roll call please, Mrs. Paterno.
Thank you. Mr. Sotovich?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
I'd like to abstain from 13.9. And then, obviously, the recommended abstentions, and then yes to everything else.
Thank you. Mrs. Jurgensen?
Yes.
Mr. Lippy?
Yes.
Mrs. Marquardt?
No to 13.4, 13.5, 13.9, and 13.10. Abstain from 13.7, and yes on the rest.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
No on 13.9, and yes on the rest.
Thank you. Mrs. Lockwood?
Yes. Operations and Finance, Mrs. Tovich.
Quick question, did anything not pass?
13.9.
13.9.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to move items 15.2 to 15.20 and hand carry 16.2.
Second. Any discussion?
We're back to the,
Mr. Lippy. Put on your microphone.
microphone on. All right, we're back to the tiered question. We have that going on. Dr. Kitchen, thank you for explaining all that. I know we're looking at some of the more expensive, of course, sports and things like that, to put them into the tier 3 and with the cap in there. And we're going to be looking at the free and reduced lunch families that we're going to assist in this. 2 things I would say. In my opinion, this isn't revenue. This is covering costs different than revenue when we use those terms, at least the way I look at it. But my question is more than what was up before is what are we doing about the more expensive out-of-pocket things that we have to cover for these things, like, for instance, I'm going to pick on hockey and skiing, ski passes and the ice time for the hockey. I have noted with little success that there are many schools that have the same programs that do not cover those costs.
Yeah.
They get passed on. But it's really hard because most of our districts, like us, pass it in a meeting and it's not on their websites, it's nowhere because everyone likes to hide those types of things.
Yeah, so I think for the purpose of this evening's conversation, and obviously with the urgency of getting things in place for the fall sports, we haven't finalized the discussion on any changes to that for where we are currently. I think the sports that fall into those categories where you have more significant direct costs, where some of that could potentially be passed on to the individuals that are participating. I think they are, for the most part, in the winter and spring sports, and I think we have a little bit of time, not a lot, but I think we can have a conversation about those to see if there's any additional changes beyond just the change in the tiered structure. But obviously, that's something we would talk about collectively as a board, as you know, in an ops and finance conversation.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
I agree with you. It's not revenue.
She's going to agree with you a lot.
But I'm looking at this and I'm okay with this structure now, but I think it's very important that we put it out to the public and that the public understand that this is going to be a fluid thing. Because if next year we lose even more money, you're going to have to come back to this. And I would hate to see this board next year sitting here going through this again at this late date. So I think that it should be an open conversation because, you know, the reality is that the state may do exactly what they did this year, and we need to be aware, and we need to have the foresight to let people know that this can change again next year, and it more than likely will. So I will support what's here, but I also want to make sure that we're making it crystal clear that these are fluid numbers, because next year there could be more that has to be cut. And again, I go back to that we're a Board of Education and it's not the Recreation Board. So we need to address those things because, like I said last week, sports is very important. However, when you're a parent and you have to pay for it, you pay for it for 4 years. When you're a taxpayer, you're going to pay for it forever. So we need to be conscious of those numbers so that the money that flows from the taxpayers is flowing into the education part. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Van Dyke. Mr. Guarino?
Well, first off, I think there's a lot of education rooted in sports, right? So, and I, as a taxpayer without students in the school district, I understand that some of my taxes will have to go to pay for some of these students to play sports, and I think it's a good thing for them. The other thing that I want to get to, though, is you mentioned freshman sports earlier. We talk about what's on here. If there are programs like field hockey that can support a freshman sport, are we going to have freshman sport? Or if there's a program like boys basketball that have enough students to play boys basketball, are we going to support that?
If the proposal if the proposal passes, then we will have the revenue to ensure that those teams have freshman sports.
Within reason, obviously, if we get 9 or 10.
Yeah, so that's where the discretionary piece comes in, right? Because I think that to just blanketly say we will have it for this sport or that sport, it really depends on the registration. But I think for certain sports, you have the historical data to say, there's going to be enough students interested, and we should have enough money there to be able to cover those things. And it's on the athletic department to appropriately figure out how they want to allocate those dollars. But we've met with Mr. Schutte, and I know that he and Mr. Kane have worked closely together this past week or so to really kind of look at those things, and they're definitely up to the task of finding the most effective way to make sure those dollars are as impactful as possible for our students.
All right, that's good to hear, because like I know in the past I've been on a board when there were enough girls for freshman softball, and they didn't run freshman softball that year. They just decided to cut that. Yeah, and that rug came right out from under those girls, and I don't want that to happen.
In all of the conversations, none of the sort of potential cuts that were being eyed are looking to cut programs or teams that have significant interest. The teams that you would expect have the interest to run freshman teams would have freshman teams. There are a couple places where it just might not be appropriate.
Right.
But all of the historical large teams will have them.
Thank you.
Mr. Lippe?
First, as you're mentioning Mr. Kane quite a bit in this, thank you, Mr. Kane, for helping out with this. Appreciate that. But I'm going to take it to a different thing. On 1513, the reverse auction. Melissa, Mrs. Petrano.
Yes.
These are good numbers now compared to what we had?
So those are good numbers, and I did reach out to make sure that if nobody goes to any of the numbers we like, we could say no, and then we'll just go into another auction. Yeah, so that'll run tomorrow, and if nobody wants to go for any of those, then we just wait for the next auction. Yes. Yes.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call please, Mrs. Paterno.
Thank you. Mr. Sitovich?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes, with recommended abstentions.
Thank you. Mrs. Jurgensen?
Yes.
Mr. Lippy?
Yes.
Mrs. Marquardt?
Yes, with recommended abstention.
Thank you. Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes, with recommended abstentions.
Thank you. And Mrs. Lockwood?
Yes. Policy, Mrs. McCord?
I'd like to move items 17.2 to 17.4 under policy.
Second.
Any discussion?
I should mention on the policy and reg adoption for the electronic devices, we now have finally received the FAQs from the state. So the Strauss Esme sent something out saying that they don't believe, they think it's appropriate to adopt the policies because they don't anticipate significant changes to them, but they're going to look it over, and if there's any minor tweaks, they'll bring them forward later. But it is appropriate, according to Strauss, for us to update this policy with the one they provided to us last week.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please, Mrs. Patagno.
Thank you. Mr. Sitovich?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Mrs. Jurgensen?
Yes.
Mr. Lippy?
Yes.
Mrs. Marquardt?
Yes.
Mrs. Van Dyke?
Yes.
And Mrs. Lockwood?
Yes. Committee reports and liaisons. I know that we haven't really had any meetings. Is there anyone wishing to add anything? Mrs. Marquardt?
So last night was the Municipal Alliance meeting. There will be no August meeting. We'll be meeting again in September. They are looking for members. They mentioned last night at the meeting that they received clarification that you actually do not have to be a resident of West Milford in order to be a member of the Alliance. They just have to maintain 50% of the membership as residents of West Milford. So if anyone knows anybody in surrounding towns or anyone who's interested, they are definitely looking for members.
Thank you, Mrs. McCord. Anyone else wishing to add anything? All right, seeing nothing, so we'll go on to old business. Any old business? Mr. Lippy? Wow, you're on fire tonight.
You woke me up. Kevin, you gotta tell me if I'm not supposed to talk about this? So.
No.
Did I hear?
Get the long story.
I'm sitting
On the motion 1319 that didn't pass, we have, I don't know if we can talk about this over there, but we have other supervisors?
Department chairs.
Department chair, 13, what did I say? Oh, 13, 9. So my glasses, but I didn't put them on. Do we have other plans for how we're going to approach this? Do we have,
So we had 2 no's and an abstention and a 4 yes.
Let's have 5. Yeah.
It's a personnel issue.
just out of curiosity, because this is something that we're coming up on, and we're going to have some sort of plan to put together, or come up with something that, we're not the committee of the whole, so I don't know how freely we can talk right now about this, because I don't know. Okay.
I would say that one thing we could do.
I'll mention names. Mention names.
One thing we could do is discuss an exec, and then if there was a reason to come back out. But you've already voted on it for tonight, so I don't think there's any other action that would be taken on 13-9 tonight. But if you wanted to discuss the general plans for those positions, I think that's an appropriate conversation for executive session.
So maybe we should have talked about that before we voted on it, but there we go. So, okay, I'll let you on that. You can move on without me. Go on.
Any other old business?
Move to close old business.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? New business? Any new business? Looking at you, Mr. Lippe. Mr. Guarino.
So, yeah, I'm pulling up the calendar. For somebody that wants to run for the Board of Education, right? And I know there's been lots of discussion in the previous months about budgets and so forth. If you want to get involved and you want to be elected to volunteer for the Board of Education, you get that into the county. Will, you could probably help me with this a little bit more, but get that into the county by Monday, July 27th, right? And they have to
By 4 p.m.
It's on our website.
Okay, good.
The forms are on our website, and say that.
And you could submit
The forms
your
are on our
petition-
website.
You can submit your petition to the Wanacue extension of Passaic County offices, or you can go directly to Patterson, New Jersey, and submit it to the clerk yourself.
And the Wanacue extension is on Ringwood Ave,
It's on Ringwood Ave.
right?
And it's recommended that you call
Yes.
and make an appointment, or at least let them know that you're coming, and submit the petition that way.
Yeah, I definitely recommend calling first, just to let them know you're coming, because I think that person sometimes leaves a little bit early from the Wanacue. I think it's not as, there's not as many employees in there. It's always a little light, yeah.
And the other
Make
thing I
sure
wanted-
it's notarized. If you're going to go the last day, make sure that you have your at least 25 signatures and make sure it's notarized.
Valid.
Yeah.
And registered voters.
And one more thing, I just want to give a shout out to West Milford Little League, the 8Us, 10Us. I think they're both still playing. I know the 8Us for sure, but I think the 10Us are still playing. We've gone to a couple. I've gone to a couple games just to watch because I just can't get out of Little League. And I tell you, it's a good group of Little Leaguers out there playing this year. So they're moving on pretty well, which is exciting.
That's great.
For our town.
That's great. Any other new business?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public comment. Anyone signed up for the second public comment? Mrs. Patagno?
No, I have nobody.
Anyone wishing to speak? All speakers will have 5 minutes to speak until a period of 30 minutes transpires. Before speaking, please state your name, group affiliation, and address for the record. Members of the public who have requested to speak prior to the meeting will be recognized by the chair first. After speaking, all speakers are asked to sign the register provided and give their full name, group affiliation, and their address. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members. All speakers are expected to have read the statement within the agenda regarding the regulations concerning public comments. Members of the public are reminded that they are legally responsible and liable for their comments. Go ahead.
Hi. My name's Ashley Lanieve. I'm at 114 Green Terrace Way in West Milford. I have 3 boys in district, a rising junior, freshman, and 7th grader, all in the West Milford Athletics. So very happy with the past agenda items tonight. We were very concerned, and thank you all for your diligence in going through this and ensuring that athletics remain an important part of West Milford. With that, my boys play football, and I just had a quick question that obviously doesn't have to be answered tonight, but I know that when you walk into a high school basketball game or cheerleading competition or a wrestling match, the gate fees are collected by the booster clubs. When you walk into a high school football game, the gate fee is collected by, I'm assuming, the Board of Education. And as the Football Booster Club president and speaking on behalf of our board, we would be interested to know where those gate fees go, because I don't know that they come back into the football budget. I'm not sure if they go back into the band budget or the cheer budget, because I know all 3 sports are there at once. So that was one item. And then second, completely separate, as the former president of West Milford Junior Football, last year we approved the donation of the funds for a sound system for the turf field. I know that you guys publicly announced that a few meetings ago, but it is contingent on air conditioning system being put into the press box. So we're just interested to know where we are with that so that we can proceed with our vendor in installing the sound system. Obviously, we are a little more than a month away from our home week 0 game for high school football, and we have not scheduled anything yet. So, we'd love to get it in, the sooner the better. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? I know I saw a couple of hands. Yes, Mr. Romano?
You know my name?
I do.
Only because I talk about you.
Who said that? Ray? We didn't forget you at all.
It's okay. Ron Romano, 12 Daniel Street, Oak Ridge.
I agree with Ray Garino. I think a lot of education comes out of sports. And I agree with the lady board member who is not here right now, who I think brought up the idea of percentage. And I think it should be a 50-50 split. Oh, it was you? Sorry. Are those the person next to you? I agree. I think it should be a 50-50 split between the taxpayer and the participant. I think it's equitable. I think it's part of education, and that's just my opinion. Second thing is, it was intimated 2 meetings ago that, hey, if PK didn't close, hey, sorry, I can't get off the PK thing. If PK didn't close, hey, it would be another school, and we may even have to close another school. I've been looking at this long-range facilities plan, and I would say, hey, if you're going to close another school, how about you close this one? I mean, I'm looking at the numbers, and I'm not going to pretend to know what you guys know and know about what these numbers on this long-range facility plan actually mean. But I'm seeing numbers for this school. I don't quite understand why we still have it. Close it too. And the third thing is, what's happening in 2028, again, not completely understanding that all these numbers for all these schools balloon so much. I'm just curious if you could speak to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm out.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Oh, there's someone more coming up.
Sorry.
Nope, you're good. You're good.
Megan Sullivan, 90 Greendale Drive. Mrs. Van Dyke, you brought up the class size numbers for the elementary school.
And I talked to nobody, just so you
No. And I know I can't direct just at you, I'm just saying because you brought it up. And that the board has those numbers as a whole. Are those, like the class size numbers for the elementary schools, are those numbers that the public are going to get, or that's something that the public wouldn't be able to receive as well once, I know come May, everything is pretty much set. But I didn't know if those numbers for each elementary school, for each grade, for each class, if the public could also see all of those numbers as well.
We're going to discuss them here.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Mrs. Babcock. I know you.
So last one, I get executive session?
I swear to God, but I went towards my that was one more.
So everybody, I'm Kate. I'm mom. I'm her son, and I love her. Have a great day. Bye.
Best comment.
Hi, I'm Connor.
You can speak every meeting.
Good job, boys.
Entertainment while you write your name, Mrs. Babcock.
I'm going to give them my mic from now on.
Hi, Caitlin Babcock, 13 Post Place. I just wanted to speak to the excellent programming that is housed in this building as CPAC president. I have watched the Highlander Prep and Highlander Academy program grow into such a beautiful program that we have here in West Milford. It's taken a bit, but it has really blossomed into something that I know as a fellow, I work in another district in county, and they talk about this program. I also want to kind of mention that the cost to send our students who utilize this program would far exceed what we use to house it here. And also the revenue that we bring in is also very important to mention. But speaking from a educator that is in a school that does not necessarily have that programming available, and seeing those students struggle, knowing that here in this district, we do really care about that mental health enough to have it here on this campus where students can still have access to their gen ed peers right at Macapin and the high school is so wonderful. So I just wanted to thank Dr. Swartz for just making that beautiful, Dr. McQuaid for also being a part of it, all the directors who started it, thought about it, made it a thing, Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
I'd like to make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so now.
No opposed, just.
Oh, I didn't even see you, Mr. Petrovich. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, I apologize because usually I do keep quiet at this part because that's what's appropriate. But Ms. Babcock took the words right out of my mouth because I find myself getting offended when people mention this building and it needs to close down. But you know, in all fairness, it's due to an ignorance of a Highlander Academy program, and it is instrumental in so many lives. And even though those numbers seem small on paper, when the program is running during the school year and you're seeing the pictures out there and you're seeing all the programs that are running on behalf of their mental health and to bring them to general education levels of their educational journey, there's so much that goes into it. And I never want to put Dr. Schwartz on the spot, but at some point in time, maybe when there's a full room and that does get mentioned, I would love to hear on behalf of the Special Services Department what that actually entails to have a Highlander Academy here and why it's so important.
Sure, in one of the next couple committees, maybe Committee of the Whole, we could do a presentation to review what happens here at Highlander Academy, the enrollment of in-district, out-of-district tuition students we bring in, and the trajectory of how the program has grown in the past couple of years.
And perhaps legal obligations to the students with disabilities that
Of course.
need that.
Of course, there's some things we wouldn't be able to talk about in a public setting because it is a self-contained special education program, but we can certainly talk about the benefits it brings and the legal obligation to those students.
We can give a general idea too of the average tuition cost. Obviously, you don't know what a specific individual's tuition would cost when they're not in and out of district placement, but looking at an average cost of out of district placement, average cost of out of district tuition versus the savings that we realize when we're able to keep those programs in-house. So.
I mean, we have some on the agenda tonight, not obviously for this program, but other programs that do go out of district. And I mean, I don't ever really see anything much under 80,000, upwards of 150,000 per student.
And then there's transportation and potential aid in our out-of-district placement.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Nursing, related services, so all of those things accumulate per student. And we keep our own students here who qualify for a self-contained ERI program. And we also bring in revenue by bringing in students from out of district where a Highlander Academy type of program is not available. So we have students coming here and being charged tuition. We charge then for the aid placement. They provide their own transportation. So a program that's running, then we're just bringing in more students, but getting some of the program paid for by bringing those students in from another district.
I mean, it's safe to say the cost difference is in the millions.
Mm-hmm. So. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so I believe we closed public comments,
Wait,
correct? So
wait,
now,
and he got to talk, then public comment should be
executives-
opened again.
So public comment.
No, but he spoke, and like, we might have something to say
So
in
public
response to
comment
that.
finished. A board member wanted to make a comment, which I allowed him to. So now we're going to go into executive session.
Just
Mrs. Marquardt?
before we do, just to 13.9 at 8:05, I'm of the opinion that you need 5 members of the board to appoint people to stipended positions, but I will double check that tomorrow and before Janet finalizes the minutes, so of course.
Mrs. Marquardt, can you take us into executive session, please?
Unbelievable.
At 8:06 p.m., I'd like to move that the board go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel appointments, resignations, current litigation matters, special education matters, negotiation, HIBs, and matters of attorney-client privilege. The executive session minutes will not be released until such time as the privilege or confidentiality is no longer applicable. The board will be in executive session for approximately 45 minutes, and action will not be taken. We will adjourn from executive session.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, everyone.